right, all right, all right. Well, we're live on Tacobout Live on a special edition night, Thursday night. So is it Taco Thursdays? Does it make it Taco Thursdays now?
Tapatio Thursday.
Tapatio Thursdays. I don't know.
Tapatio.
Yeah, Tequila Thursdays. I don't know. I'm just saying. Anyway, I like tequila.
Tacos on a
Yeah.
Jueves night.
So anyways, Tacobout It Live, special edition tonight, special broadcast that we have going on tonight with me, Frank, and Manny. We got our special guest here, retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Raul Reyes and Jr. So Raul, thank you so much for being here tonight,
Thanks
sir.
for having me here, guys. I'm working to share it on my page here while we do the intros, but I'm happy to be here. In the beautiful studios here of the Tacobout It Live, usually on Tuesdays, but now we're doing tacos on a Thursday afternoon, I guess. So.
Yeah, there's no problem with that. There's no problem with that.
No, you can have tacos anytime you want.
Yeah, you sure can. You sure can.
I eat tacos all the time.
Well, that's why I have my computer in front of me.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
that way, it looks like, and plus the camera adds like a couple 100 pounds or something like that. So
yeah, easy.
Yeah, but we got a lot. We actually got a lot to talk about. That's happening in our community here locally in Del Rio area, the epicenter, it seems like, of the border crisis right now. And so, of course, RGV is getting slammed. Eagle Pass is getting slammed as well. The other day, Eagle Pass had 1,300. Yeah. We saw that RGV had almost, 30,000 last week?
Yeah, 20,000. And you know what's crazy, Manny? I was doing some research earlier, putting some facts together. Out of the border states and the sectors on the border with Mexico, from California, down to Boca Chica, Del Rio sector is number 2, bro. Number 2 in apprehensions, only behind RGV.
Wow.
And so when you say the epicenter, folks, it is the second epicenter. I mean, well, there's only one, but
right.
But it is definitely heavy traffic, and we've been receiving calls and reports. Folks are upset because Governor Abbott's order came in today, but was implemented yesterday. He released it. And so there's a lot of questions, about that. But we'll definitely drill down into that. Raul, thanks for making the trip out here.
Right. Yeah. Appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. And you hit it right in the head. I mean, the folks across the border, it's a mess. And this is an invasion. Leave no room, no doubt about it. Yeah. And of course, but we seem to have the most attention right here in Del Rio, Texas. Yeah. And a lot of it has to do, they're flying all these folks out of Laughlin Air Force Base, and so it's grabbed the whole of attention of a lot of folks, even to Tucker Carlson all the way up in Fox News. So I'm glad to be here, and of course the governor laid out an executive order that we're going to discuss today. Yep. And so, is it all good or platitudes again to be determined? Hang in there, folks. We're going to address this one down.
We'll drill down into that, and as folks, you're jumping in, you're tuning in. Thanks for joining us tonight, Thursday, making time out of your schedule. Go ahead and share this, please. Share this. Put it on your page. If you get a chance to message people, get this out to them. But just real quick, just run down, Raul. If you want to just kind of share why you're here because of tomorrow, man. If you could say something about that.
So absolutely. So tomorrow in Medina County. So for all the folks that are following us on.
No, that's Saturday. The funeral.
Oh, wait. What's today's date? Thursday.
Thursday. Yeah.
You're talking about the Medina.
Well, that's Saturday, but also an event that kind of shook people here in Del Rio was the untimely death of.
Oh yes. Unfortunately, I am here overnight. Tomorrow, Jose Perez. He was just a terrific. I say young man because he's really our age. He's 50,
we're young, very young.
Yeah, 51 or so.
Wow,
I met Jose when we were in college. He came back here. He's been just a person that everybody knows here in the community. Passed away. Everybody knows this. So I'm going to be at this funeral tomorrow. Pay my respects. And again, I grew up with a lot of his friends, and we went to college together. So sad to see that happen, but that's why we're here, and we just took an opportunity to talk about some things while we're here. Yeah. So to all the family out there for Jose Perez, God bless you. We're with you. Our condolences to the whole family and the entire community, because he's touched a lot of kids and adults, people that work with him. Yeah. They did a celebration, Manny, just 2 days ago at the high school, and they laid some ribbons up there, and so they don't do that just for anybody. And so
obviously he impacted a lot of people's lives, and being an educator today, it's a tough thing, man. They gone through a lot of challenges. But I know that this really struck people, close to home, and so we just lift up that family in our thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You know, and as Jews, we always say, may his memory be a blessing. When somebody passes away, we say, may his memory be a blessing. And we pray that his memory is a blessing to future generations coming up. But I also want to just touch upon it as well that who knows, maybe we'll make this a regular thing later on as well. Some more special editions, do some remote broadcasting someplace else. We want folks. We really want to get the information out to you as much as possible. About this border crisis, and not just the border crisis, but everything that's happening in America that affects you as Americans and as Texans. One of the things that really bothers me the most, Raul, is that it seems that there's a huge infringement right now on Texas sovereignty.
Yes. Yeah, so and that's really the biggest thing we've been just sounding out loud, and this stems all the way back from that symposium that happened here, thanks to Frank, and then we went to Carrizo Springs for another rally out there. We went to Kinney County. We're going to be in Medina, and I didn't mean to confuse the question here, but we're going to be in Medina County Saturday, 9 o'clock. So if you're anywhere near there, heck, if you're in Del Rio, feel like driving all the way to Medina County to the Hondo South Texas Maze at 9 o'clock, we're going to have donuts and coffee and a lot of great speakers. But
you had me at donuts, bro.
at the core of it is that, and we've had this discussion amongst ourselves, folks, is at what point do you stop relying on the government for defense? And the answer is at immediate, when there is any delay, and the Constitution is very clear, Manny, it says if there's any delay by the federal government, we reserve the right to defend ourselves. Now, here's the thing, and we learned this a couple hours ago. I say we talked about it a couple hours ago, but look, if it doesn't stop you from exercising that power, it doesn't prohibit you, then you have the power to do whatever you need to as the state sovereignty. Yeah. And so we're in a debate here. Does Abbott not know that? Yeah. Or does he not want to exercise that for fear? And some would say, Frank, that he's just feckless. He doesn't want to do anything about this. I contend that we have a problem in the state as far as the rhinos, and that we need to start looking at that, folks. We have had 2 legislative sessions where all the legislative priorities, the conservative, that by the way, the SREC and RPT put together, good men and women that work together, folks, to put the priorities together. The mutilation of kids, that bill went south. The wall went south.
Election integrity, we didn't even talk about this.
Election integrity, of all the things in this time after Donald Trump, 5 states go the wrong way through what I think is a fraudulent election.
Right. Which, by the way, is supposed to be making voting easier and better, more secure.
Right. And so we have a governor that, it's just failed on all the counts. And we're not here to mince words. We're here to tell you, for me, I have no issues telling everybody, it's hashtag ABA. And it's anybody but Abbott, and so. Look.
But I think it's come down to that already. We need to stop beating around the bush and be softies on things. And I think that's been the problem with the Republican Party since the 2 elections or 3 elections ago, when they had the opportunity to really go in. And I hate using I don't hate using this word, but to go in for the kill and say, hey, let's, because it's the Democrats have proven already, sir, that they're not going to work across the aisle. They're not going to work across the aisle.
And so it comes to this, folks, and we've said it before, it seems like the left, the Marxist, crowd, globalists, that now control the Democrat Party. And, of course, they've got elements within the Republican Party as well, folks. But they are definitely going for the jugular with everything they're doing. Donald Trump came on scene. We've said this before. Yeah. He exposed them. He exposed their intent. He exposed those that were complicit, his aides in that, the mainstream media, and the rhino establishment swamp, and they go for the throat every single time, folks. So we need to learn. We need to learn that we are in a unique time in history. This is a time similar to, I would imagine, the boiling pot leading up to the revolution, leading up even to the Civil War, where you have the right of people to exist as free beings created by a creator God. Yeah. And then you have the sovereignty that he gives us to be our independent beings, but also that's now endowed or by virtue of that, that dynamic, giving over to the states in these United States.
Yeah. So one thing, and let me tell you, the reason that there's three of us here from Del Rio having this conversation is because we had a great president who just got everybody to wake up, and we're not talking woke, we're talking to wake up, and it's gotten Raul Reyes out to run for Congress in the last campaign, you know, and now we're staying active with these rallies. Frank's out here, Manny as well. But across the board, you look at Kinney County, we've got some great folks there. Medina, I just met with the Republican women's group out there. They're growing. And then you keep going down the road.
Springs
and I know a lot of you folks are listening and you're wondering, what can I do? Well, you have to do anything we need to for our survival, because we've said this is an existential threat that is happening here. If we sit back and do nothing, we're going to be in trouble. Now, the other piece there, and leave no room for doubt, because we always have to say this is a Democrat induced problem. Joe Biden created this, so let's just put that out front. Anything we say that does not leave the Democrats off the hook. They're the ones to blame. This is induced by the government. Led by Joe Biden.
Yes.
And so, but we have leaders inside the Republican tent who aren't exactly doing anything. I mean, when we're flying folks out of Laughlin Air Force Base to England, Louisiana, folks, and that representative,
Air Force Base,
he
Mike
came,
Johnson.
Yeah, he came on Tucker Carlson and said, nobody told me they were doing that. Republicans inside the tent are talking to each other, and that's not good any which way or any day.
So that's a perfect little segue. We've talked about, there's a particular scene from a movie, folks, and you'll hear me refer to movie scenes from Braveheart and Gladiator and Apocalypto and other movies, but Manny's fixing to throw this one on. It's a real short 2 minutes, but let me set this up. It's out of the movie Saving Private Ryan. And so you got upstairs an American soldier, fighting a German soldier, and they're fighting for their life. They are fighting for the next breath, literally. And so on the stairwell, coming up to that room where they're upstairs, there is an American soldier. And so I want you to keep this in mind, that the American soldier on top represents America. The German soldier trying to kill him represents the enemies of everything that America is. And then on the stairway you have a fellow American, and I want you to watch this quick 2 minutes.
2 minutes, that's going to get me pretty upset. And then but also then right after this we're going to start talking about the executive order. But let's put this on.
Lass es uns beenden! Stop! Listen to me! Stop! No. Es ist einfacher für dich. Viel einfacher. Du wirst sehen, es ist gleich vorbei.
Man, I tell you, every time I see that scene there, Frank and Raul, it gets me so upset.
And I'll tell you, bro. So keeping that analogy in mind, bro. You know what I just said. The American soldier, America fighting for its life, fighting for its breath. The enemies of America on top, trying to, sink that dagger into its heart, and Americans cowering, bro. And that's what. And so that's what we see, bro. We see within the Republican Party, man. We see an element who don't want to fight.
Yeah.
They don't want to fight. They don't realize what is at stake here. We are living in a very unique time in our nation, and so we can't sit there and cry after the fact. It may be too late. Yeah. We'd be crying with. Right. There'll be people crying with shackled in camps. Dead. There will be no cry when they're dead. But it's that serious of a time that we're living in. Well, and so I wanted to bring that. As a vivid kind of something you could think of. As we go down this road together, folks, because we are together, we're patriots, we're concerned about our nation, that the enemy sees this as life and death.
Right.
And it seems like folks on our side, the conservative side, bro, they still want to go back to business as usual, the politics of the past.
Life has completely changed since this last election, yes. And there's no room for games or for playing. You said people may not be crying after they're dead. Well, they'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth in eternity for some who have not received Yeshua as their Messiah. But folks, we got 3 veterans here. Two Army, 1 Air Force. I won't hold that against you, sir.
Go Air Force.
but we do have a lot to talk about this evening, and one of the things that we want to address and analyze right now is this Governor Abbott's executive order regarding the border. And what are your thoughts on that, sir?
Well, so if I may just quick briefly go back to this video piece. So we're at a point where we've got Republicans that just refuse to step up and do what they need to do.
Yeah.
But I contend, and you know this because we've been at this. We were at this campaign in the primary for the 2020 election, not right now. And you either got Republicans that are not stepping up, but more and more. And you said it best. Donald Trump has exposed an element inside the Republican Party that really isn't working for us, the people. And so that's really key. So when we get into the primaries, I'm going to advocate strong. You've got to get people to debate each other. You've got to get people to talk to you. You've got to ask the tough questions and see. You got to see through a lot of the facade. Now, as we get into this executive order, because I'm going to transition over with that in mind.
Yeah.
When I look at this executive order, it doesn't look like a Republican that is stepping up to the plate like Frank is talking about to help us get things done. What this looks like is it looks like a setup, a play in words to just get you down the road. But I was at the America First rally this past week with Joanne Fleming at Grassroots America, we the people.
Yeah, up in Temple, Texas.
Yes, up in Templeton, and we had a panel and we could discuss. We had a couple of folks afterward that I was mingling with and just talking to, and the first thing's like, look, Abbott's starting to do a really good job. He's really starting to do a good job. And a lot of it has to do with when you read this executive order, the very first one, Frank and Manny, says that we're not going to allow any more of the transportation of illegal aliens back and forth unless it's a law enforcement type at the local, state, and at the federal level. So what that says is everybody's looking at that saying, yeah, this is great. We're going to stop the buses from moving back and forth. Yeah, it's going to seem like that, but what if we put law enforcement driver's license? What happened in the last week or two that we started to look at and analyze that was happening at the Border Patrol? They were starting to get training for
CDL driver's license.
Right.
Heavy buses, heavy machinery.
And we were perplexed. It's like, what is this all about? Maybe they were augmenting some things. Did they know that this executive order was going to eliminate civilians from driving illegal aliens from the port of entry to the NGOs, which you were at the Humanitarian Coalition place, or anywhere else? Because that's really what this does. It stops regular civilians from driving these buses. So at first, this looks like a win. It really does look like a win, except for there's a disclaimer here that says law enforcement at the local, state, and federal level.
Yeah.
So I expect, and I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist. I'm just telling you what I see. It looks like law enforcement, if they drive the buses to the NGOs and from the NGOs to Laughlin, that's a buy. Is that correct? That sort of gets us through this.
Well, yeah, but you know, we're already getting reports, Raul, that there's taxis picking people up. There's you know, there are stripes here on Veterans Boulevard here in Del Rio, you know, waiting to line up at the Greyhound to get bussed out of town. And we have the director of the Valverde Humanitarian Coalition working out of the back of her vehicle, you know, with these illegal aliens, man. You know, with the and you know, we call them illegal aliens. They crossed over illegally. We know that the vast majority of them don't have a credible claim, you know, for asylum.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, so they're gonna work. They're gonna find an end run, folks. They're gonna find an end run, and that's why we've been saying that this action once again smoke and mirrors, throwing a bone to Texans. Because look, and keep this in mind, the only way you're going to stop this traffic from coming over, it's not Biden doing something. He's not going to do anything. It's clear he's not going to do anything, and he's the one that invited them to come in. The only way it's going to stop is for it to stop on the Mexican side. It has to stop in Mexico, folks. So all this stuff that Abbott's doing is just patchwork Band-Aids on our side.
So let me give them an example here,
Yep.
a historical example of why we're looking at this executive order like this. So that people don't think, well, you're just bashing Abbott and you don't like him. Look, I voted for the guy. I supported him. But he's been horrible during the pandemic and more so now during this invasion on the border. Abbott issued an executive order, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago, and right before he went to Del Rio. And what he does in one of those is he says no illegal alien children will be housed in state, local, or city entities. In other words, he was trying to make sure that nobody was gonna grab the children, the migrant children, and put them into and put them into these different places. But in the same sentence, he excludes federally contracted units. So now, if you go to Carrizo Springs, Dilley, Texas, Donna, El Paso, we have asylum shelters. That's what we're calling them for children.
Right.
And so we never closed those. So what that says to me is everybody else can't mess with this, can't take care of the children. There has to be federally contract. That's money to somebody's pockets, folks. Okay. Yeah. Now let's look at number 1 of this executive order. The same thing is happening.
I'm going to put it up here on the screen for them.
Yeah. So what the same thing is happening. Number 1, it excludes law enforcement at the local, state, and federal level. What that means is what, like Frank is talking about. If you're Joe Schmo taxi driver, you're going to get in trouble for picking. So that helps. That helps. But the process by which we get folks from the gate down at the border to the NGOs and to Laughlin, if you put the right driver in those buses, we'll still be the same. Now we're probably going to see some folks drop off.
All you have to do is delegate authority.
All you have to do is delegate authority.
They do it all the time.
And you said something about Biden. I always tell folks, if we're still having a conversation about Joe Biden and what he needs to do, you're in the wrong room altogether.
Right. Because we already know that he's not going to do anything. But he's not going to do anything.
But the fact that we're having a discussion about this executive order about Abbott leads me now to believe we no longer can have a conversation about what Greg Abbott needs to do. Right. I mean, we're going to have to, but we're going to get to a point where we're going to be convinced that given Governor Abbott the right solutions, it's not going to matter because he's going to allow for the trafficking of migrant children and anybody else through our state to wherever they go.
Yeah, and so let's kind of flesh this out because folks might say, okay, what's the point here? Look, first of all, Abbott has to, with this law that was enacted, he has to crack down on these non-law enforcement entities.
Yeah.
Did he follow through on his word to arrest the Democrats that fled? Because some came back and they weren't arrested.
They issued that arrest, by the way, after the one came back and then went back to D.C. Did you see that?
Yeah. No,
but it didn't arrest him.
They issued one.
And so now you've got to get DPS, peace officers to start cracking down on Greyhound and Uber drivers and mom and pops that just want to, hey, I'm here to go to San Antonio, pay up $10, man. You got your papers, let's go. I mean, he's created a cottage industry now, folks, and some people are going to get in trouble. But does that solve the problem? Does that cause Mexico to deal with the cartels on their side of the border? Does that make Mexico start cracking down on the pipeline and shutting it off? It doesn't. No. We're still imagine a pipe, and we're at the receiving end over here, and all this is washing out on us, but all you got to do is turn the spigot off before it exits that pipe. And so this action it looks good, but when you start fleshing it out. Now, here's the other thing. One of the biggest processing centers in this sector, one of the big ones, Del Rio Station, is about 3 or 4 miles from Laughlin Air Force Base.
Right.
Yeah. And so what's happening out of Laughlin Air Force Base? Military flights. So what the governor says here is, Border Patrol, you're going to continue to haul people to Laughlin Air Force Base. Do it. Continue doing it. You're already doing it. Now, the other aspect of it is that there's a contract angle on this. For instance, that there are already corporations that are contracted through Health and Human Services or Department of Homeland Security or FEMA even. The government works off contracts, and so they're already contracted to be taking on these people. Money's already being paid out for folks. They're under contract. So as an agent of the government, as an agent of the federal government, under contract, he's not going after those people neither.
Yeah, so
he's not gonna do anything about it.
You have to prove it further and stuff, and you can't. It's hard to do.
Well, this is going to go back to a bigger conversation that I hope we can one day get to. But this is why the administrative state is a dangerous part of the government, because these are all things that are happening at the Mayorkas level, and that's the DHS director. Yes. All these are happening beyond Congress, and so the question then becomes, okay, so a federally contracted entity can move people around, and this executive order that lays out, anybody at the state, local, and federal level, as long as they're law enforcement. So if they bring on a law enforcement, it gets into really deep conversations about the constitutionality of some of this.
So feasibly, does it stand to reason that they could actually delegate authority to an NGO?
Oh, well,
that's the question, right?
Right.
Not an NGO, a corporation. A corporation. Now, it's specific non-government organizations, and I think it could be corporations or non-government, but I think the linchpin here is the contract.
Right.
If they're contracted to the federal government, they are by extension an agent of the federal government.
So one of the questions we have Frank and Raul here is from Juan de Leon. I really appreciate you watching and joining us tonight. And all of you that are online watching us right now, thank you so much. Continue to watch us as well. We'll be having this on podcast as well. We're going to be on Podbean, Spotify, and a few other platforms as well, so you can have the audio portion. But one of the questions here is that is Laughlin still going to fly them out? That's one of the questions.
It's going to continue.
There's no reason under this executive order. This executive order, the answer to that question does not stop that.
Yeah.
And that's what we're saying. Now, you got to get illegal aliens to Laughlin.
Right.
And so this executive order seems to stop that, but it doesn't, because there's a disclaimer here. If you're law enforcement at the local, state, and the federal level, DPS isn't going to do anything to you.
And so, like I said, folks, it's a quick 4 or 5 mile drive from Del Rio Station to Laughlin Air Force Base, just down the road. And so, there's a comment here about, the cartels they're a shadow government to a certain extent, but look, AMLO, the Mexican president, has shown a willingness to fight the cartels. Specifically, was a news piece here a few days ago about he's going to take on the Sinaloa cartel.
Wow.
And he's going to, route Mexican resources down there. Remember a few years ago during the Trump administration when the Marinas, the Mexican Marines were down here, and they were a terror to the cartels, bro. It was war, and folks on that side knew that the Mexican Marines were coming in to do, clean house, to take care of business, and so there's that willingness, bro. Yeah. And right now, even AMLO right now is doing it. So what we have to do And if Governor Abbott's not willing to do it, because it involves money, as we've been saying, affecting commerce coming from Mexico, folks, they will listen to anything that's has to do with money.
And like we've said since our first episode,
Yeah.
Trump proved that works.
Yes.
He proved that works.
Yeah, he flexed the economic muscle of America, and Mexico listened. And so here we brag about Texas, our economy, our economic muscle. Well, for such a time as this, Governor Abbott, an existential time in our history, a time when our very existence and our sovereignty as a state hangs in the balance. You need to flex the muscle of Texas. You need to stand as a Texas champion, and so by affecting the economic lifeblood of Mexico, which is those commercial trucks coming over, and not at the ports of entry, but on a Texas highway, whether it's a mile down the road from a port of entry, stopping that vehicle, and the first minute, tiny little infraction, you're off the side of the road. And maybe they go down the road, but maybe it's 2 hours later, and in the meantime, you've built up lines of traffic into Mexico. That will get their attention, folks. It will get their attention.
So let me tell you why I think, again, this is just smoke and mirrors, like you're saying. Because
what the governor said.
What the governor is saying, because there's a lot of money at stake. What most folks don't know is $2 billion was allocated by the federal government for 3 companies. One of them is that infamous Endeavors out of San Antonio. They're off of Desavala. So a lot of folks if you've been to San Antonio, Desavala crosses up there by I-10 on the north side, and then ends up there by UTSA. So, and there's 2 other companies. Now, we've researched it. What I can tell you without giving too much detail, that's just going to go into the vapor sphere, is $2 billion was done under what most people would know is a no bid contract to 3 companies. And so what that says is there's $2 billion out there in the state of Texas mostly, and companies are going to not leave it on the table, you see.
Yeah.
So if the federal government wants to move all these folks, it has to hire these people.
Right.
Now, Greg Abbott, I'm going to bash him a little bit. Under the watch of Greg Abbott, we sold 168,000 acres to some general communist China, right here, right down the road.
Yeah, right down the road. Actually, I saw the flag the other day.
Yeah,
The
right,
Chinese flag?
Chinese flag.
right down the
street.
road. So that happens under the watch of Greg Abbott. Under the watch of Greg Abbott, we also had this pandemic, and contact tracing ends up on your phone. Now, it's not activated unless you want it, but the fact that it's on your phone, I don't trust it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, now with this invasion, we've had executive order after executive order that is playing on just political platitudes, nuances, not even nuances.
And we have no idea who's coming into our country.
We don't. We have no clue who's coming into the country, and now you don't have access to Laughlin Air Force Base. The state of Texas, nobody has access to Laughlin or any military installation. You're either retired, you work there, or you're active duty.
Yep.
But Jamaicans, Haitians, you pick it.
Well, here's the other thing too. I've even seen videos. I saw a video of was it Anthony? Even public lands are starting to be closed off to the public, to the American taxpayer.
In that video, you should watch it. He's walking through. They're holding him. They put the car so he doesn't.
They blockade him.
And as he's showing people, I didn't see a trespassing sign. There's 2 illegal aliens that are stepping by, and they just walk right by. Nobody stopped them whatsoever. But the money is at the core. So now, under the watch of Greg Abbott, we've had asylum shelters pop up everywhere. Yeah. Why not get rid of all of those? Stop the buses at the port of entry and be done with it, because really that's what's happening, right, Frank? Is this governor doesn't want to throw down with the federal government based on sovereignty that is his by the U.S. Constitution. We never gave it up.
And here's the thing. I want to also just real quick point out on number 2. And I'm going to read it real quick. It says the Texas Department of Public Safety (DPS) is directed to stop any vehicle upon reasonable suspicion of a violation of paragraph 1, and to reroute such vehicle back to its point of origin. And then it says this: if a violation is confirmed. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Frank. We spent some time in the Border Patrol.
Yeah.
Just a little bit?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a little bit?
Yeah, over 55 years experience here. DPS and any other law enforcement entity besides Border Patrol cannot determine alienage.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, this is going to be very hard to even enforce because what's going to happen? They're going to stop vehicles.
Yeah.
Who are they're going to have to call
Border Patrol, and they're all processing.
and they're all processing.
And not only that, I mean, this is still America. They're here illegally, but what are they under our Constitution? You know, our system. What they're entitled to legal representation. So right off the bat,
Yeah.
you know,
Can they can
in
they
court,
fight
in
so,
court,
right? And so can they fight reasonable suspicion? Because federal agencies, we're the only ones who can are allowed to stop on reasonable suspicion.
Yeah.
DPS needs probable cause.
Is this where we get into profiling?
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
going to get into profiling.
Exactly.
The
And
ACLU is going to be all over this.
Yep.
The other thing here is when you read that, because it says, you know, DPS will direct back. Is that the one? Is that number 2? Will direct you back to
Number
the
2,
port of entry.
will reroute to a port of entry.
It didn't say it was going to escort you back to right.
No, just
and
go
why?
back.
Because if you look at these 3 bullets, folks, it nuances that we're going to deport people by DPS or any law enforcement looking at suspicion. And go, look, we think you have COVID. You need to go back.
yeah.
But nobody's going to follow them back to the port of entry to make sure they go back across.
Yeah.
So there's no deportation here. It just sounds like it. And I tell you what, I'm going to give credit to this crew here and a whole lot of folks that have been making noise about Abbott just needs to deport folks. You see, well, this is a play on words that almost looks like that, because as soon as this came out, one of my friends sent it out to me and said, but they're not escorting anybody. So we're giving it. We're letting people on their word. Go back to the port of entry.
It's in that direction. And here's another thing that's
Go that way.
Yeah, go that way. And here's another thing that's going to happen, bro. Is some of these people that come down here because look, I mean, hey man, entrepreneurship. Here's a chance to make some money. There's going to be chases, man.
Yeah.
There's going to be accidents. There's going to be death. There's going to be people that come here to take advantage of it.
We're there, and it's going to get worse.
We're already getting reports in Eagle Pass that aliens are starting to fight back.
They're starting to fight back. El Paso, the same thing. Talking to agents out there, what's transpiring in El Paso, folks, is as they're getting caught under Title 42. Unaccompanied adults from Mexico.
Which is only applied to Mexicans right now.
Yeah, in a couple, I think maybe Honduras or Central American, they're being sent back under Title 42, but then they come back, caught, sent back, sent back, and they realize that they're going to have to run, or they're going to have to fight.
Yeah.
And so that's what's going to happen. And so once again, I go to my statement of. All this is just dealing with the effects, the consequences, the reactions to the actions, and the flow has to stop on the Mexican side. So how do you make the flow stop on the Mexican side, or at least get it to dwindle down a bit, affect it, because everything over here on this side is come in. Once you get your walking papers, you can fly, walk, skip, ride a scooter away from the border. Once you get your paperwork, you're free to go down the road, whether you walk 1,000 miles, or some entrepreneur kid, wants to take a chance and get arrested. But once you're on this side and you've got your walking papers, you're down the road. It has to stop in Mexico.
Yep. And we're already getting reports too. It's been happening for a little bit that illegal aliens that are here with papers are coming back to the border and picking up their family members. And we're just allowing it's just being allowed to happen.
It's band-aids, bro. And one real quick thing here, another potential scenario. So you got the scenario of Border Patrol or other law enforcement, transport these people down the road, whatever. There's 15 passenger vans that you don't need a CDL for that. Any person can drive that, so any agent can drive that. But what about this potential scenario? Say you get 2 or 3 or 4 buses, charter buses, under contract, and so it's a charter company. It's not a peace officer per se, but as you line these up with people, you get a police vehicle in front and a police in the back.
Yep.
And that just says to peace officers out there, DPS, who is enforcing, I guess, this executive order, that's an escorted charter bus caravan.
Right.
Is DPS going to mess with that?
I don't think so.
No,
I doubt
because
it,
because and he's not, bro. Because why? Abbott is avoiding confrontation.
Yeah, well,
He doesn't
what
want
is
to
this-
confront
this
Biden.
is in effect immediately. Is it,
This is effective.
Somebody was
immediately.
asking.
And actually that's why like today I went by the gas station, one of the stripes, and saw illegal aliens all over the place once again, and one of the local.
They were at the Ramada Inn.
Yeah.
Just so you know,
And-
I mean, they were loitering outside as well.
Yeah, and they're walking all up and down the street now.
Yeah.
And I felt bad because I saw citizens stopping with some and it looked like they were on the phone, probably with Border Patrol, trying to get people. But it's
They don't
not-
have people to
yeah,
respond,
nobody's
man.
able to respond. But I saw one of the local NGO representatives getting information for them, and what I overheard was it seemed like destination that they were trying to work on. But we got a few more, about 20 minutes, and I want to just real quick point number 3 out because as I was reading this. It says DPS is authorized to impound a vehicle that is being used to transport migrants in violation of paragraph 1. However, that has to be determined. Who determines that? Border
Yeah.
Patrol. Or this kind of made me laugh. I don't know if this makes you laugh, but it said or that refuses to be rerouted
Yeah.
in violation of paragraph 2.
Yeah, and remember, this is all under the COVID scenario, which is somebody asked, well, how are you going to enforce suspicious or anything? Folks, we're not even testing for COVID.
Yeah.
No.
We're not testing for COVID,
No.
so
And they admitted to us the other day. We confirmed the other day at the local NGO that all these illegal aliens are.
Oh,
being
yeah, on your video, right? Yep.
They're all being sent to Middle America.
yeah, in
unscreened
fact, the
and
director
unchecked.
said that, right?
It was
Right.
the director.
The director, folks, you got to watch that video.
Yeah.
She comes down and says, look, none of these are, and we're just here to help them get to where they need to go.
Yeah. And
so,
sadly, that NGO identifies these illegal aliens as refugees.
Yeah, and folks, and think about it. At the beginning of the movie, it talked about America's enemy that represented by the soldier that's trying to. These people are committed because the reports started coming in, and Manny recognized her and saw her. The director of that same NGO was at Stripes working out the back of her car, and she's basically setting up the charter bus service for these people. You know, it's understood, folks. And remember when Kamala Harris went down to Central America, they basically laughed at her and said, you're allowing this to happen.
Yeah.
You, Biden, Harris, this administration, you are allowing this to happen. And that sentiment is known in Mexico, folks. ¿Quieren eso? ¿Eso what you want? Pues ahí les va. You deal with it.
Right.
And that's why, folks, we keep talking about all this stuff that Abbott's doing. It's just patchwork, folks. You have to stop the flow on the Mexican side. And so how do we do that? Through pressure.
and this is why we're here, right? Because there's a lot of folks talking to themselves or other friends.
Yeah.
And but some of them are misconstruing this executive order as, hey, it looked like he's going to do something. When we were and Frank and we were sitting next to each other when Abbott came to the Civic Center, remember?
Yeah.
And the first thing, and it's funny because he had that political speak, and I don't know what you would call that, but he tried to get everybody to a thunderous applause, the way politicians speak, I guess. I don't have that in me, but the first thing he says, we are going to build that wall. I mean, it was a surprise. What turns out it's a fence, according to you, I've seen your
It's
video.
a cyclone fence.
It's a chain link fence. So, and we're going to arrest everybody. The local county sheriff was probably cringing. And I know some of my friends that are county sheriffs are saying, Raul, we just don't have the bed space.
Yeah.
We don't have the bed space. And he put out a picture of, I don't know if that was the one here in Valverde, but he put out a picture of one facility and says, look, we're getting this ready. Well, are they going to throw out the inmates that committed, crimes and then fill those in with illegal aliens? In one day, Frank filmed 450 people. There was already 600 on the backside.
Yeah, 1,300 Eagle Pass.
And 1,300 in Eagle Pass.
That's just here.
That's just one day in this location.
Sector,
fills up that prison like that.
Yeah.
So that's not a reality.
And then now he just said that I was reading the news today that he ordered a National Guard down here to arrest illegal aliens. I don't know how they're going to do that, guys.
So you guys have worked with because can you explain to folks who say, well, send the military down there and what exactly, paint a picture for what, I mean, I know, but you guys are firsthand, you've worked with them before.
Yeah.
What is it exactly that the military do down here under the current conditions? Because if they gave them the right authorities, it might be different, right?
Something that is different this time from, say, just a few years ago, Operation Jumpstart. There was virtually no presence in the field. At least the guys now, the troops, they're out in the field. But as we saw, I mean, some of them don't even have magazines in the weapons. I mean, that's putting them in danger, folks. Out here is split-second stuff. I'm very fortunate that I never had to kill anybody when I was, but there were moments when I thought I might have to, and I was always certainly ready to do so. But things happen in a split second down here, and not only that, there's training that goes involved with that. No, not disparaging our National Guard. My dad was a guardsman for 26 years.
We all
in
served.
the National.
We all
We all served. But the level of training, folks, that's needed. You train for war in the military, but these are National Guardsmen that train once a month for 2 weeks during the summer. I'm not slamming them, but what I'm saying is, they come from everything, from bakers to cashiers to CEOs of companies.
But
whatever.
they're not immigration officers, and they're
They're
the
not
only ones that
immigration.
can process,
And
right?
it's
It has to be law
Yeah, it has to be
enforcement,
law
like Manny
enforcement.
and Frank here.
Yeah.
said.
And because we operate under specific authorities granted either through codified in the United States Code, or granted to us by other agencies like the Legacy Customs Service and Department of Justice.
Yeah, there's just different title monies that go with the authorities, and
Yes.
or just legislative authorities, not even money. It's
So
just-
sadly, what ends up happening is that they become observers and gate openers.
Yeah.
And so that's basically.
And that's what they're doing now. They're
that's what they're
observing,
doing
and it's a show of force, on the Mexican side. But folks, they'll sit there and they'll just watch with binoculars. They'll just look, and what are the National Guardsmen doing?
And I guess what
Nothing
we're
down
trying
there.
to get here is look, we all love law enforcement, but
our troops.
there's a better use for them knowing that this isn't working, stopping all these illegal. Nothing is going to change except for maybe there might be. And I saw Judge Owens, God bless him, he put a video out letting folks know, that this was happening, and there may be more folks at the local stripes here in Del Rio.
Mm-hmm.
I suspect that'll happen, but really the busing of all these illegal aliens is going to continue because there's just too much money on the table for those folks that are going. They're making sure that the process doesn't stop, and all these words are really they're platitudes that don't have any teeth to them.
And we look at what's happening now. Like the other day in was it La Jolla, Texas?
Yeah.
The
sheriff came out.
The sheriff came out and encountered that family, that Haitian family that was COVID positive.
Yeah.
And they were released because they had COVID.
And think of the lunacy of this, guys. I mean, just the irony of this.
Frank is going to be all right, Frank.
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking about this, folks. We are fixing to arrest fellow Americans for taking advantage of a situation, for breaking now an executive order, mandate. We're fixing to start arresting, and there's Texas saying, arrest them, arrest the bus drivers.
Both vaccinated and unvaccinated people. That's
Yeah.
according to Nancy Pelosi now.
Yeah.
Today she wants to arrest people who don't wear a mask there at
Oh
the
my
Capitol.
God! Well,
she's
but
crazy.
I'm just thinking about the situation, folks. So you have DPS trooper pulls over a busload of people. What happens to those folks? Yeah, go back to the port, and they have their walking papers. They just try again another day. They will try over and over. The recidivist dynamic is they'll come back, folks, and they're not gonna get returned. I mean, it can sound good on paper. They're not gonna get returned. Texans are gonna get arrested. Americans are gonna get arrested. But yet the problem continues. They keep coming. They're gonna keep coming.
Well, and here's the other piece too. Where is our congressional Republican, and not just Mr. Gonzalez here on the border, but if you think about
Who's been silent, by the way? I haven't heard.
Yeah, no,
anything.
and talk about the representative from Louisiana. He was completely surprised that we're shipping folks from here. We're flying them to his district. Nobody knew this,
and the people didn't know it.
Yeah, and so there's really we're sort of rudderless here because where's Kevin McCarthy just keeps doing the same thing and throwing a bunch of smoke and mirrors up there. But where's the force in all of them together? And let me tell you why there's not unity inside the Republican Party, because there's at least 2 or 3 different factions. There's the rhinos. There's people that you would consider really, really hard conservative, which I think is not really alt-conservative anymore. Everybody's sort of gone left. And then folks in the middle that are trying to still figure it out. But the fact that Kevin McCarthy hasn't been able to piece this together, the fact that our own representative hasn't led the way on all of this, that's even a bigger travesty. And the fact that he's the one who coordinated. I didn't say this. This was on San Angelo Live, which has a larger...
Tucker Carlson also.
Tucker Carlson. He begged the Biden administration to fly him out of Laughlin. Look, I grew up here, and there's a few things that are gold, like San Felipe Creek.
Right.
We love our water, but we love Laughlin
We
Air
love
Force
Laughlin,
Base
yeah.
to be
Yeah.
used to move illegal aliens into the country, into the heartland. And then somebody said, "Well, look, they're not staying. Raul, they're not staying here. That's a good thing."
They're going somewhere.
Listen,
Wow.
we're all Americans. We don't want them here. We don't want them anywhere into the heartland because and
This
the
is
funny
America,
thing,
man.
not funny, but the thing that's happening is they're moving them into into red states.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's purposeful. They're trying to do a complete changeover of the demographics and turn it into California and Arkansas and Tennessee. I wonder if the Republican congressmen and the senators from there are okay with John Cornyn and Tony Gonzalez.
You know what's interesting? You know, Frank, correct me if I'm wrong, Frank, but we've had mass,
Yeah,
immigration
they've
before.
been- yeah.
You know, but I'd never seen such a concerted effort, Frank,
Yeah.
and Raul, to get these illegal aliens to these certain states.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and we're bringing to bear our greatest powers, our strengths, our military, our law enforcement. You know, we've got the whole of government, like the government likes to say, the whole of government is in on this massive smuggling operation, bro.
So here's the next step, I think, because for however long this goes, and you already see John Cornyn folks talking about amnesty.
Amnesty.
So what we need to know is, where does our local rep stand on now that? Where does Henry Cuellar stand on that? I mean, and because Henry has all of a sudden turned into this conservative that we have to save, according to John Cornyn.
Yeah.
Is he for amnesty? Because how do you even start talking amnesty while the gate is fully open?
And I'm gonna tell you, even I've seen Tony Gonzalez come out and say some things in favor of border security. However, he voted against certain funds for DHS. He also voted for the January 6th commission. He wants to build facilities here, processing centers here.
Yeah.
All that's going to do is facilitate more illegal immigration.
faster.
So he can say whatever he wants.
Yeah, his actions.
So let me tell you what happened
don't
real
reflect.
quickly in Carrizo Springs, because remember we did the rally out there, and what was happening, folks, is these facilities, because they have a lot of money, paid a lot more money for the supplies, cooks, and teachers. So in Carrizo, they were seeing teachers being drawn over to those facilities. It's already hard enough to get teachers in certain parts of Texas, Carrizo, Crystal, perhaps Del Rio, some other places, and because people all want to live in San Antonio and Dallas, and okay, great, no problem. So they're just not only, they're fast track illegal alien processing centers, but they're drawn away from community resources that we can't afford in these areas.
Right.
That's terrible.
It is terrible, because I don't see any coalitions going up or humanitarian centers going up for our homeless veterans, for underprivileged school children, to feed families, anything like that. I don't see any of these efforts being concerted or focused on local community members, local citizens. And it's sad, but I've seen all this going on, and them sending people to these certain states, which seems strategic to me. You know, you don't have to have a military mind, to understand and to see that this is strategically being done. You know, being against locals, against America, against Trump as well. But guys, this is amazing. And as a citizen of Texas, I'm not from Texas. I'm not a native Texan, but I got here as quickly as I could. I served when I first.
Did you marry into Texas?
Well, no, actually, we're both from New Mexico.
no.
But your kids are
My
American.
kids are good enough.
And so I had to get in here.
Thumbs up, right?
Yeah,
Greg?
we had to do something, but I served in Fort Hood back in 1991 and 1993, and I fell in love with Texas. I fell in love with Texas, the way the Lone Star State and whatnot, but there's our Texas state sovereignty is in danger.
Yeah.
And I believe Governor Abbott, we got a few minutes. I believe Governor Abbott can basically shut the border down with here in the next few days if he would just put a squeeze on Mexico's commerce, rather than playing all these games, having all these meetings and these focus groups and whatnot, and put a squeeze on their commerce and basically shut it down.
Well, and then let me say something, man. I mean, getting back to this executive order, it looks, oh, they're going to shut the NGOs down now. It didn't take 24 hours, bro, for that effort or that action plan or whatever, that's why I call it a high-speed wobble, because, folks, You can tell when a leader is in a high-speed wobble because he is now reacting to the situation. He is not thinking ahead. He's not, how do we really stop this? And folks, it's about money. It really is about money. There needs to be an army of citizen journalists right now that are researching American companies on the Mexican side. What companies have set up shop on Mexico, in Mexico, on the Mexican U.S.-Texas border, and then follow that money from those companies and see how much of it is winding up in the pockets of these politicians, Democrat and Republican. And then the other thing I want to say, folks, as quick as this executive order went off, these committed ideologues, this liberal Marxist open borders, ideologues, bro, who are bent on demographic change, tipping the scale like they did to California, they want to do to Texas. Within minutes, they're setting up shop from the back of a car. They don't care about the law. Yeah. They know that Abbott is not a man who follows through on his word, folks. And what I mean by that is with action. As I said in one of my earlier videos, where's the stats? How many people, Governor Abbott, have been arrested since you sent the troopers
10.
down here?
I heard 10. I heard 10.
How many people are getting arrested and charged and are going to jail to await a sentencing, a hearing before a judge? How many people? And then what's transpiring here, folks, and it's, as you look back, as you take a step back, Abbott, the high-speed wobble, and these people continue to operate. It's a mockery. He's turning into a laughable figure, folks. And I just have to say it. Yeah. I have to say it. He's not taken seriously. Whatever, dude. People blow him off. And who's blowing him off? The cartels are blowing him off. The Mexican government is blowing him off. The Biden administration is blowing him off. And Texas are ready just to blow him off, folks. Why? Because he needs to take freaking radical, controversial, confrontational, decisive, bold action to save us. To not be that guy that was cowering in the staircase, but to rush up those stairs and bash the enemies of America in the head. That's what he has to do, bro. And that's the time we're in.
And I agree, but he also has to quit thinking and believing that the Democrats are going to work with him across the aisle, because they're not. Raul, I want to thank you so much for being with us here tonight. We got a couple of minutes if you want to share any last words.
And you hear it on our conversation, folks. The biggest angst here is, we're all Americans and we're blessed to be Texans, and we have this Texan spirit that just drives us to say and talk about this, and to stand up and say, look, this is very un-Texan-like.
Yes.
Why are we in a position beholden to everybody else? Frank's right. The world is looking at the governor and the state of Texas and wondering what happened. Yeah. And it's no reason. It's why people look at Ron DeSantis, I think, in a different light, because those are the cojones we need down here, and we're lacking it. So, look, keep talking to folks, informing, educating folks. This EA, Executive Order, EO, put out by Abbott, to me and to these folks here, I think, is laughable. It's just words to confuse you, but nothing is going to get any better.
It's still going on.
It's still going to keep happening. And so hang in there. We're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep talking. And if you have inputs, look us up, and we'll be happy to.
I got to pipe in, because I did say, words and action, and I saw it. You continue talking to your representatives. You continue now. Our judge here, county judge, he came out and displayed his, told us about his angst and his, displeasure and disagreement with this. I'm sure there's other folks, commissioners and the sheriffs, etc. But. Folks, look, there's an added element to this, and Raul started going down there, and I want to pick that thread up. When during the height of the COVID issue, Christine Nome, right, from Dakotas, came down, South Dakota. She came down here to visit some event up north, at North Texas, and she said, "What's up with the masks? What's up with the COVID restrictions in this state? Is this not Texas?"
I thought it was Texas. That's what she said.
And so, folks, that's the vein of it. That we Our America is our house. America is our house, and the door, the border, the border is the door. And Texas has 1,200 miles of the door. It is our responsibility as Texans to defend the rest of America, folks.
That's right.
Yeah.
To protect the rest of America. And our governor is failing to do that. He is afraid of confrontation with the Biden administration, and he is afraid of confrontation with the government of Mexico, who is the freaking sorriest neighbor on the face of the earth for allowing this to happen. And so there needs to be pressure, and so that's the action thing. Contact your reps and your senators, etc. Be ready to act. And so what, Governor Abbott, what do you want to see, Governor Abbott? What do you want to see? Do you want to see Texans go down to the border? Do you want to see Texans lock their arms together? Do you want to see Texans form human chains, human blockades in front of these ports of entry? Do you want to see Texans at the gates of Laughlin Air Force Base, Governor? I'm asking you as a Texan, a lifelong man who was willing to shed his blood for our nation on foreign soil and here at home. Do you want to see Texans get arrested? Do you want to see Texans who love America, who love freedom, who are totally disgusted with the mightiest superpower in the face of the earth being perverted in such a disgusting way, Governor? You want to see us standing arm in arm in front of Laughlin Air Force Base? Because there are hundreds of thousands of Texans, Governor, and Americans who are willing to do just that. It's on you. You have to do this, or else it's going to be in your hands, sir.
Wow. But hey, those powerful words, Frank. Powerful words, and I pray and I hope that the citizens are listening. We're not asking for any violent confrontation or anything like that. Please don't misunderstand us. But action does need to be taken. Action does need to be taken. Contact your representative, contact the governor, write letters, call, and get the word out. Go out there and film. Go out there, video, whatever.
Yeah, we need citizen journalists,
and make our voices heard, folks. Real quick before we close, we got a couple minutes. I just want to point out that we do have a website now, and I'm going to put it up on the screen here, real quick. Tacoboutlive.com. You can go to our website. We got some articles. We're going to be having some articles here pretty soon as well that we'll be writing on our blog. Raul, if you want to contribute as well to anything, we'll have our videos. We'll have this on our podcast as well that you can pick up on the website. Email us with your questions. Tacoboutlive at gmail.com. We'll be happy to answer any of your questions. We want to thank you so much for joining us here tonight, and we appreciate everybody that has joined us, that has asked us questions. If you have any more questions, please email us. Go to our website, tacoboutlive.com. What may end up happening too is that a couple times I got blocked on Facebook, so we don't know if Messenger will work.
Go figure.
Well. But
just Medina. That's another plug for Medina. The Hondo Maze, the Southwest Texas Maze in Hondo, Texas, 9 o'clock to 11 on Saturday. Come have a donut on us and some coffee. It's not that far of a drive, and you're going to have a lot of other Texans out there hooping and hollering and trying to make enough noise, because that's what it's going to take, is to get the governor's attention, your representatives' attention, all of them, every single one of them. So God bless you, and thank you for having me.
God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. God bless America. God bless
Texas. Yep.